These are the headlines. Students from North Georgetown and Stella Maris tied for the top spot in this year's National Grade 6 Assessment. Government to buy $95 million in new vehicles for top government officials. Larry London heads inactive Florida company paid millions to print birth certificates. And in sport, former national footballer Verlon Mills wants active players selected for upcoming national duties. With the news, I'm Neil Marks. We're glad you could join us. Samuel Barcoy of North Georgetown Primary and Robin Lal of Stella Maris Primary are the top students in this year's National Grade 6 Assessment. Both of them attained 525 marks out of a possible 528. The results were announced by Education Minister Priya Manichan on Monday at the National Centre for Education Resource Development. Third position was gained by Alexander Singh of Marian Academy, while two students shared the fourth position, namely Liana Darampal of Monrepo Primary and Brandon Ramdin of Westfield Prep. Sharing the sixth position are three candidates: Brittany Peters of 1 Mile Primary Linden, Gabriel Felix of New Guyana School, and Danish Tularam of Academy of Excellence. The ninth position was shared by Yuri Clark, Charisma Etwaru, and Salma Bacchus of Academy of Excellence, and Robert Forrester of Winfrey Gardens Primary. The top students said the COVID-19 pandemic did not affect their studies, and while some are still shocked to be among the top performers, others are not so surprised. The parents of the two top-performing students also spoke about their children's achievements.
We have with us here Samuel Barcoy. He is a top-performing student for the National Grade 6 Assessment. Congratulations to you, sir. Can you tell us how you're feeling at this moment?
Ecstatic. I'm overwhelmed because getting Queen's College was always my dream, and now that fantasy is becoming reality. So,
what do you plan to be when you grow up?
I've not really established it, but I'd like to be an engineer.
Okay, tell us a little bit about the journey getting to this point. How was it during the pandemic studying? I know you would have worked hard.
Well, first I was afraid that going to school you might be exposed to catching coronavirus, but then I simply put that aside, focused on my education, and worked hard.
Okay, is there anyone that you would like to give special thanks to?
I like to thank my teachers who've helped me along the way, including my lesson teacher, Miss Alison Blenman. And I'd also like to thank my family for supporting me and helping me along.
The spacing didn't really matter to us, but we related that he did as well as he wanted to.
I was going to say more so. He was aiming for Queen's College in that he wanted to join his sisters. He has two sisters at Queen's College, so I knew that that was his heart's desire. For us, as my husband said, it's not really about space. It was just that was his desire, and we wanted him to achieve what he wanted. So we're happy about that.
How do you feel being a top performer of NGSA?
I feel very proud of myself and feel very happy.
How was the preparation to get here?
Lots of revision and lots of work put in the nights and days to get to this position.
Okay, what would you like to be when you grow up?
I like to become a medical doctor.
Why?
Because somehow I like doing science and like helping people. So medical doctor was my choice.
Did you always know you'd do this well?
Yes, because I have maintained a certain standard in my school as in first place. So just doing my best here, and I hope to get first, and I did.
Okay. Anybody you'd like to thank specifically?
I like to thank God. I like to thank my teacher, Miss Scarlett, and I like to thank my parents, my mom and dad, and my sister.
How difficult was it during the COVID-19?
It was not really difficult because I was already prepared for this exam.
Did you know he would have done so well, and how are you feeling in this moment?
Oh, I'm so excited. I'm confused at the same time. I know he would have done exceeding well, but I think he was more confident than me that he could have done it.
Well, I've always had doubts, but seeing as how easy that test was, I was expecting to be in the top 10, but hearing it from someone else, it's still a bit surreal and surprising for me.
Okay, how did you prepare for the exams?
Well, it was a bit difficult during the COVID-19, and I usually have my grandmother beside me, helping me with homeworks before and studying for tests. Well, because her instead of my other parents is because mom and my dad were really busy. My teachers were the best. They helped cover all the details in all my topics.
Okay, what do you plan to be when you grow up?
Well, before I was thinking of being a lawyer, but then again I'm starting to love writing, and I've always, like, during the COVID-19, I would usually sit in my room and plot stories.
How was the preparation for the exams?
Well, I had to wake up very early in the mornings, went to different lessons, but overall it was mostly by my mother helping me study and helping me with my homework.
Okay. Anybody you would like to thank specifically?
My mother, all the teachers, from grade 1 and up, helping me.
Okay. What would you like to be when you grow up?
A lawyer.
My name is Leanna Darrenpaul and I'm from Monterey Pope Primary.
How do you feel being one of the top students?
Proud and excited.
How was the studying and preparing for the exams, especially during COVID-19? How was that?
COVID-19 didn't affect my studying, but I didn't study too much. There was a balance between my work and my play.
Yeah, I'm happy with my position. And I'd like to thank God, and I'd also like to thank my parents and Miss Rita, my teacher. They've been with me all the way.
How do you feel being one of the top students?
Yeah, I feel good. I like my position, and
were you surprised?
No, not really. I've been hearing a lot of people saying that I would be the top student and that kind of thing.
Significant improvements were recorded in 3 of 4 core subject areas in the National Grade 6 assessment this year, Chief Education Officer Dr. Marcel Hudson announced on Monday. But Minister of Education Prem Manik-Chan said that the students did well despite the systems put in place by the former government. A total of 14,032 students wrote the exams this year.
Improved performances were recorded in English, science, and social studies, while there was a slight drop in the performance of mathematics. In 2020, 61.2% of the candidates secured 50% and more in English, as against 51.7% in 2019. All administrative regions recorded, and I want to repeat that, all administrative regions recorded improvements in English. Region 3, 63.4, Region 6, 57.5, Region 10, 71.9, and Georgetown, 78.9, securing 50% and more in English. A significant improvement was noted in social studies. 53% of the candidates secured 50% and more in 2020, as against 39% in 2019. All administrative regions recorded improvement in this subject area. Region 7 moved from, and this is one of the interland regions, moved from 21% recorded 50% and more in 2019 to 30.8% in 2020. Region 5 recorded 49.2% in 2020 as against 33.7% in 2019. And of course, we mentioned that mathematics, we saw a slight drop in mathematics from 42% to 39.4%, thereabout%.
Everybody, including children, have a responsibility to tell the truth. They have done well in spite of the previous government's policies. The Education Ministry has been consistently performing better. Education doesn't crash because Priya leaves. It doesn't fall away to the wayside. Things that were put in place for a while will start seeing effects and results. What was done, if you go to my Facebook page, but to answer you, if something good was started, it's not going to stop. If there is a good policy in place, nobody would stop that. But to suggest that it is a result of the previous administration that these kids are doing well.
The Ministry of Health Monday afternoon announced that as of 1500 hours, one other person who tested positive for the novel coronavirus died. The latest fatality is a 67-year-old man from Guyanese in Region 1 who died while receiving care at a medical facility. The sample was collected from the patient at the time of admission and was tested positive for COVID-19 subsequently. The Ministry of Health expressed sincerest condolences to the family of the deceased and said it will make every effort to provide all the necessary support during this difficult time to render any assistance needed. Officials of the ministry have contacted all relatives and persons to facilitate contact tracing and rapid assistance to everyone who may have been exposed to the now dead person. The ministry is also appealing to the general public to respect the confidentiality of the deceased and his family and to allow them to mourn the tragic loss in peace. Today, the ministry has recorded 2,402 confirmed cases with 1,359 recoveries. When the newsroom returns, the new government to buy $95 million in new vehicles, and Larry London heads an active Florida company paid millions to print birth certificates. Welcome back, you're watching the newsroom. Home Affairs Minister Robeson Ben and Health Minister Dr. Frank Anthony were forced to exit the Lusignan prison on the east coast of Demerara the weekend after some prisoners became hostile and threw missiles. The situation deteriorated and resulted in prison officers shooting 7 inmates who tried to escape, resulting in the death of 2 of them. Several other prisoners have also tested positive for COVID-19, one of the source of the grievances among prisoners.
The 2 government ministers were seeking to calm the prisoners who have been protesting by refusing meals over the fact that several inmates tested positive for COVID-19. The dead prisoners have been identified as 51-year-old Earl Graham and 21-year-old Winston Herbert. The Ghana Prison Service in a statement noted that Graham was serving 3 months imprisonment for malicious wounding, assault and resisting arrest, while Herbert was in custody for rape. 5 other inmates, 2 at the Georgetown Public Hospital and 3 at the Lusignan prison, are in a stable condition, the prison service said. The detailed statement from the prison service stated that around 7:30 hours on Saturday, the prisoners refused breakfast and proceeded to a standoff until they can have a meeting with Home Affairs Minister Robeson Ben and Health Minister Dr. Frank Anthony. As a result, the ministers visited the holding base at Lusignan at about 13:15 hours and met with some of the prisoners. Concerns surrounding extensive timelines between court hearings and remand, among other issues, were discussed with the ministers, who then committed to address these issues within their scope. The issue of overcrowding and the risk of exposure to the COVID-19 pandemic were also raised. According to the prison service, the response was generally well received, but during the subsequent discussion by the ministers and inmates of Holding Bay 1, some prisoners from Bays 2, 3, and 4 became aggressive and began throwing missiles, which caused the ministers to end the engagement and left the compound. In response to the situation and in a bid to contain it, ranks posted within the towers discharged several rounds in the direction of the main gate of the prison, of which the prisoners were trying to break down. The statement noted that following the return to order after shots were fired, the injured prisoners were extracted and initially attended to by medical personnel on the ground. Reporting for the newsroom, I am Isanella Patwo.
A known supporter of the former APNU-AFC government, former head of the Ghana Defence Forces Air Corps, Larry London, has again been found to have received millions from the former coalition government, this time using a now inactive company he registered in Florida back in 2007 to print Guyanese birth certificates. Kurt Campbell has more.
APNU-AFC supporter Larry London, who was paid $500,000 separately for a Director of Parks position, even though he was out of Guyana and also spearheaded the controversial Durban Park project, was also the president and secretary of a now inactive Florida registered company, which was paid to print birth certificates. Minister of Governance and Parliamentary Affairs Gail Teixeira had raised concerns earlier on Monday over the arrangement, saying that the former government had moved away from the long-standing practice of using local printers to produce Guyanese birth certificates. Some 20,000 birth certificates were reportedly ordered from the company between 2019 and 2020 and paid US $150,000. Teixeira was particularly concerned that the contract was signed by an APNU-AFC supporter, Larry London, who was also the controversial coordinator of the Durban Park project, which was shrouded in secrecy and financial impropriety.
And that both the 2019 purchases and the 2020 purchases for birth certificates of $23 million for this year were purchased from Universal Procurement Services, Inc., a company in Florida, in Miramar, Florida. However, the contract has been signed by Mr. Larry London. So I'm not sure what is the proficiency of this company, nor the due diligence that was done on this company. It's the first time I've ever heard of it, because I know that, having been a Minister of Foreign Affairs, Home Affairs myself, and I know my colleagues who were there subsequently, birth certificates used to be published in Guyana with the local printers with safety and security watermarks and so on put in. So I find this rather unusual and strange. So I thought it was a company of the level of the Canadian banknote, but I've never heard of this company, and the principle makes one have certain concerns.
The newsroom, upon further investigation, found that the company, Universal Procurement Services, Inc., was filed as a domestic for-profit corporation in the state of Florida and is no longer active. This corporate entity was filed on February 14, 2007, as recorded in documents filed with Florida Department of State. There are a couple of officers known to have been associated with this organization, including Donna London, who's also listed as president, Roger Simon as director, Victor Wilson as secretary, and Lyndon Russell and Deirdre Downer as the other directors. It was revealed when the government changed in August that London was also hired by the APNU-AFC government as director of parks, although he was resident abroad, receiving a net salary of $500,000 per month, and his electricity, internet, and telephone bills were paid for by the state. He also had guards at his home, a driver in a car, duty-free allowance for the highest grade of vehicle, and a gratuity of 22.5% every 6 months. Kurt Campbell, Newsroom.
The New People's Progressive Party has set aside some $95 million in the 2020 budget to buy new vehicles for top government officials, inclusive of the President, Prime Minister, and the Vice President. Minister of Governance and Parliamentary Affairs, Gail Teixeira, said this was as a consequence of the damaged state in which several vehicles were handed over to the new government by former ministers. The funding, which is to be spent from October to December, did not find favor with the APNU-AFC coalition, with former Minister of Public Infrastructure David Patterson calling on Minister Gail Teixeira to provide greater details. She would only say that the vehicles were to serve top government officials, including the President, but could provide no additional details relating to the procurement, except to assure the public that tendering will be done.
I have said very clearly, are you hearing me now? Okay.
Honorable Minister, yes.
That
I think
we have a list of vehicles that are been boarded because they cost more to maintain than to buy a new one. Secondly, we have vehicles that are defective, and I gave the example of when the former ministers submitted their vehicles that we were shocked to see a number of them had a rather high percentage had cracked windscreens, scratches, bumps, and seats. The seats were very confusing. They were damaged and stained and ripped up. We don't know who did that and how that happened. And we also had vehicles where our ministers got into thinking the vehicle looked all right, and then discovered as they went down the road that there were two different sets of size tires. Radiators were damaged. So we have to therefore do some repairs, and we also have to purchase new vehicles.
Teixeira, who was at the time defending the allocation which falls under the Office of the President during the consideration of budget estimates on Monday, said come 2021 the government will make all details in relation to the purchases of the vehicles available. She wrapped up by assuring that there will be a procurement process before the allocation was put to a vote and passed with a majority from the government side. More news after the break. Stay tuned. You're watching the Newsroom. President Irfan Ali made his first address to the United Nations General Assembly on Monday. He did so on behalf of the Group of 77 and China and in celebration of the 75th anniversary of the United Nations.
Founded in the aftermath of two devastating world wars, the United Nations was dedicated to the simple but profound conception that working in concert, the nations of the world can avoid the worst expressions of inhumanity and thus promote a progressively more peaceful, equal, and prosperous world. Today, Guyana is satisfied that the existence of the United Nations has been a distinctive and unrivaled force for good in our world. Its peacekeepers have stood in harm's way to shield the most vulnerable. It has inspired agendas for development, which have transformed the lives and livelihoods of countless people around the world. Its embrace of values and rights of every human being has conferred dignity on the distressed and downtrodden. And its promotion of respect for international law has been a compelling disincentive to unnecessary and unmitigated conflict that has nurtured the peaceful coexistence of states, including through the respect for the territorial integrity and sovereignty of all states. We therefore commend the UN for the impact it has made over its 75 years of existence. We recognize and laud the citizens, international civil servants from every country, including my own, who have served unreservedly and sacrificed unselfishly to make the UN what it is today. We look forward to the UN continuing to address the challenges and needs of our time in order to live up to its own lofty ideals and promise. Global challenges of our day, such as climate change and the impact of COVID-19, must be successfully countered. We must take urgent action to equip the organization to implement its many decisions, resolutions, and outcomes. The debate today in relation to the Security Council and making it more legitimate, effective, and representative must be resolved expeditiously. Mr. President, in 1966, a newly independent Guyana immediately joined the United Nations and pledged to be active in making an honest contribution to advancing and realizing the ideals of the organization. Guyana renews that pledge today and calls on all member states to commit likewise so that we can indeed transform our world and achieve the future that we want and the United Nations we need. I thank you.
A group of residents from Mahaica on the east coast of Demerara are investing their time and energy to voluntarily clean up the Unity Mahaica beach. The beach has been in a deplorable condition for years, but the residents are hoping to beautify and transform the beach. This initiative began 3 weeks ago and was inspired by Carl Melville, who single-handedly began cleaning the Kitty Seawall in Georgetown last month.
The Unity Mahaica Beach is the only accessible beach along the east coast of Demerara. 3 weeks ago, residents in the area took a decision to clean up the beach that was packed with garbage. Chairman for the Neighborhood Democratic Council, Atam Deo Prasad, spoke about why the project started.
The call was made to a few citizens through the NDC, and the citizen turnout, this is the third consecutive week to Sunday morning, for fewer every day. And we're trying to clean up the beach and make it more hospitable, so people can come and enjoy it. Because the beach is being used, this area is being used for many purposes. Recreational, some people use it for religious purposes, and of course, some people use it for economic purposes in terms of fishing and the fishing industry. The beach plays a big part in the fishing industry.
However, the residents are being faced with a challenge. With the spring tide, additional garbage comes up, making the cleanup more difficult.
And people nowadays is becoming more aware of the environment and how they can try to help to sustain it for future generations and so on. And that has led to the call to the NDC for us to get involved. And while we got involved at the NDC, we got involved on a voluntary basis, not on an official basis, because we want to encompass more people in it. We want a wider cross-section of society to come here. Well, I would just like for it to grow, as I say, for this movement to grow, and it's voluntary, and it's something good for the community.
One of the residents volunteering with the cleanup exercise is Sunil Prasad, who said he is happy to be a part of the project, but is encouraging the business community as well as other residents to come on board.
Well, we are moving so far. We are going very smoothly in terms of the cooperation, but we need more people to be on board, especially the business community. We would have invited some of them, but so far only the K&K gas station, they are more active in our venture here. So we are trying to get the other business people in the community to assist us. We don't really need much monetary support, probably just machines, equipment, beverages for the people that are making their time available here, and some cleaning detergents, gloves and those stuff, things like that. Not really much monetary contribution from them.
Meanwhile, the general manager for H. North & Son said they have been providing support to the project.
Some workers out here from our company as well too. K&K Service Station, which is a subsidiary of H. North & Sons, they have been supplying like beverages and stuff for the people, the volunteers. So everything here right now, we're happy to be a part of it, and we've donated the bins, we've donated a signboard to get people to use the bins instead of dumping. We've got a lot of complaints from residents and other people that normally come to the beach, that people come and dump their garbage on the beach itself. So we are trying to educate people and to get them to start using the bins and keeping the beach, because I myself bring my family out here from time to time.
The residents are planning to have a long-term maintenance committee to protect the beach and for it to also become a tourist attraction in Guyana. Reporting for the newsroom, I am Isanel Patwell.
Sport news is next. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the newsroom. Now for a look at what's happening in sport. We start off with some football news. The former Golden Jaguars player Verlon Mills is of the opinion that the coaching staff should seek to enlist the services of those players who are currently engaged in active football overseas. Mills' comments came as the Guyana Football Federation prepares for a busy first half of 2021 for the senior national men's team. Akeem Green reports.
With most CONCACAF nations still not out of the woods as it regards handling this COVID-19 pandemic and numerous travel restrictions, and some having limited social interaction in their countries, preparing for a FIFA World Cup qualifying tournament would have been extremely difficult. A lifeline has been given, as those qualifiers have been pushed to March of 2021. They were initially slated for October and November 2020. The Gold Cup preliminaries are in July, but practically, it may not truly help the situation for local Golden Jaguars players due to the constant rise of COVID-19 cases in Guyana. The alarming rate of increase would probably delay the approval for sports to fully resume, which poses a challenge. How do locally based players force their way into the squad? That and the fact that there has been no elite league over a year. Mills, who retired from international duties early this year to focus on coaching, feels those players who are engaged in consistent football should get the nod.
Coach Maximo has a noble and fantastic idea of giving more local-based players the opportunity to be part of the Golden Jaguars. But in this situation, we gotta be fair. I think it's best we go with players who's active and who's involved in tournaments at this time, because we need our best players. We need our best active players to be representing the Golden Jaguars if we're to qualify through this tournament.
Though difficult, Mills still hopes that local players can find a way in the squad. Prior to COVID-19 restrictions, those players would have had regular sessions at a training facility at Providence.
I definitely think that we can still involve some of our more active local players who's being focused, who's being disciplined, who's doing their personal training to be involved in the Golden Jaguars squad for the upcoming World Cup qualifying games. I mean, this will boost our local content a lot, because I want to say this before I go ahead. Coach Maximo is a coach who focuses on development, and so far he has tried to involve as much under 23 players. He's tried to involve under 20 players so that the program can keep building and it can keep growing. And I think the involvement of local players, it will mean so much for us. A lot of these youngsters who are coming through from the under 20 and under 23 national team, is a dream for them to be part of the Golden Jaguars squad. So I think, you know, even without the existence of training and local tournaments, I think we should still involve a few of our local players so that we will still have the hope and that dream to be part of the Golden Jaguars squad.
Mills further felt it will be difficult, but Guyana's chances are bright at both tournaments.
Realistically, at this time, my expectations for Guyana, the potential Gold Cup and the World Cup qualifiers, I mean, every team in the Caribbean at the moment is going through this phase, right? With the exception of Trinidad and Jamaica, who has started training already. Every other team is going through this phase, and it's going to be a challenge for us to compete. But I think with Coach Maximo, with the work that he has planned out, with his staff, I think the Golden Jaguars has a bright future in competing and qualifying in these tournaments.
The definitive dates for the World Cup qualifiers are not set, but the preliminary rounds of the Gold Cup will be held from July 2nd to the 6th in the United States. For the newsroom, Akim Green.
With the rest of the sportcast, here is our news editor, Avinash Ramzan.
CONCACAF has confirmed that its first ever Gold Cup draw will take place in Miami, Florida on Monday, September 28 at 20 hours. The draw for the group stage will be conducted by CONCACAF Director of Competitions, Carlos Fernandez, alongside former Honduras national team star Wilson Palacio, a standout player in the 2005, 2007 and 2011 editions of the Gold Cup. A number of the national team head coaches will participate virtually in the evening's event to provide live interviews following the outcome of the draw. As part of the Confederation's Football First philosophy, CONCACAF last month announced a series of enhancements to the 2021 edition of its flagship regional tournament. These include a draw, the introduction of the prelims to qualify the final 3 teams for the group stage, and an exciting change to the knockout stage, which will mean that the top-seeded teams can meet before the final. Additionally, through the development of a long-standing agreement with the Asian Football Confederation, the Asian Cup champions, Qatar, will compete as a guest participant in the tournament. CONCACAF, the Qatar Football Association and the Supreme Committee responsible for delivering the FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022 will also partner on a game-changing football development initiative which will significantly boost community coaching in all CONCACAF nations. The draw for the prelims will involve the 12 national teams which earned a place in the Gold Cup qualifiers through their performances in the CONCACAF Nations League group stage, which was played in September, October and November 2019. This includes the bottom-placed finishes in League A groups, the runners-up in League B groups and the winners of League C groups. The top 6 teams based on the CONCACAF ranking will be preceded into matchups 1 through 6, and the next 6 will be drawn from a single pot. After direct elimination play over 3 match days between July 2 and July 6, 2021, the 12 teams will be reduced to a final 3 who will qualify for the Gold Cup group stage. The preceded teams are Haiti, Guatemala, Trinidad and Tobago, Cuba, Guadeloupe and Bermuda, while in pot 1 the teams are French Guyana, Guyana, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Barbados, Montserrat and the Bahamas. We tell you now that President of the Guyana Football Federation, Wayne Ford, last Friday participated in the 70th FIFA Congress. The Congress, held virtually for the first time due to the COVID-19 limitations, was streamed from FIFA headquarters in Zurich, Switzerland. Commenting on the Congress, Ford said that the business of football must go on. He said, and I quote, "In these difficult times, we must keep moving forward as a show of the true power of football and not be daunted in the face of what might be one of our greatest challenges." End quote. Cricket news now. A stunning collapse by Sunrisers Hyderabad handed Royal Challengers Bangalore a season-opening 10-run win in Match 3 of the IPL on Monday. Set 164 for victory, Sunrisers were on course at 121 for 2 in the 15th over, but a dismissal of Johnny Bairstow for a top score of 61 saw a massive collapse as 8 wickets tumbled for 32 runs. Leg spinner Yuvendra Chahal was the pick of the bowlers with 3 for 18. Navdeep Saini and Shivam Dubey took 2 each. Earlier, RCB's 163 for 5 was initially built on a fine 56 from debutant opener Devdutt Padikkal before A.B. de Villiers went berserk in the closing overs, racing to 51 of 30 balls. IPL 2020 continues tomorrow with Rajasthan Royals playing Chennai Super Kings from 10 hours. And West Indies women suffered a heavy 47-run defeat to England's women in the first of 5 T20 internationals played on Monday. England's 163 for 8 they made, thanks largely to opener Tammy Buman's 62 of 49 balls. Captain Heather Knight made 25 and Amy Jones 24, as Shakira Selman took 3 for 26 and Hayley Matthews and Stephanie Taylor had 2 each. In reply, West Indies were limited to 116 for 6, with only opener Deandra Doughton getting into double figures, hitting 69. The second match is set for Wednesday.
I think the lack of straight rotation as well, the lack of partnerships. I think that if we have capitalized on those dot balls and turned them into ones, you know, and have had more partnerships, we would have been better off. The knock for me was pretty good, but unfortunately, I didn't get that opportunity to bring home the game for the team. But I wouldn't say they were better prepared than us. I just think that they actually came at us hard, you know, and as well as whereas batting is concerned.
And that's our broadcast for this evening. You can get breaking news and sport at newsroom.gy. I'm Neil Marks. Take care.